Welcome back to Bets of the North, where we win. Doug Lesmerises and Tyler Shoemaker. Tishu, it's 1 week, but I'm not sure that I've ever been ahead in gambling in my life. So the fact that we hit our $500 real money bet in week 1, I'm giddy, brother. I'm giddy.
You should be, as am I. I was watching that game. It was a sweat there for a while. I mean, it was back and forth. It really could have gone either way, but I mean, to play a 3-point underdog that wins by 10 points outright on the road, I mean, that's as good as it gets, I think.
I never doubted you. I knew it was in the bag. No, I can't say that. We don't want to be silly and make people think that money falls out of trees. But I will say that here on Bets of the North, we want to have a good time. We're going to try to make money for charity. And if we can give you a little bit of gambling advice that maybe helps make you a little more successful with your $2 and $3 and $5 bets or whatever you bet, maybe a bit more than that, then we're accomplishing something. So we did win money for charity off the bat. Let's go to our initial bankroll. We started with $5,000 on this show. This is what we're doing. This is how we do it. This is the plan. We're going to have $5,000. We're going to win. We're going to give $5,000 to charity at the very least. If we're ahead, we're going to give everything that we have in the bankroll to charity. So our bankroll right now is at $5,334.58. That is because we hit that initial bet, right, which is super sweet, and we won $934.38 on our $500 bet, and then my bet stunk. So I had my $100 right that I'm kind of in charge of the plus money bet, Tishu. Parlaying the overs for Washington and Oregon, neither of them came close to going over, so we lost 100 on that. So we lost 100, we won 430 something on the other one, so we're up $334 or whatever. So that's a good start. And that's what we're going to keep doing. At the end of this show, Tishu, we'll have another $500 real money bet, and we'll have another plus money bet to try to make the people happy.
Yeah, and I don't want you to take all the blame because I definitely co-signed the over parlay we had last week. My numbers agreed. I don't know what happened. Oregon in particular. I mean, the Washington thing, whatever, they lost a lot. The Oregon thing is just crazy to me. How they only scored 24 points on Idaho. I mean, that's insane. So, it is what it is. But we're going to have those sometimes. It happens.
Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing a YouTube show. We'd be living on an island somewhere if we were hitting 80% on these. Okay, so overall, we're going to give you the $500 best bet. We're going to give you the plus money swing. And we're going to give you other best bets that then we aren't betting our money on those, but we still think they're good. On those other best bets, Tishu last week went 1-1, and I went 1-1. I won on Pitt, given 28.5 to Kent State. It took a little bit of a miracle at the end, got a little lucky on that one, and I got destroyed on my West Virginia pick that I was riding all year and was totally wrong on. Tishu, you were all over Eastern Michigan, UMass. You nailed that one. How could you feel about that?
Yeah, that was good. I was tracking that score. I'm not sick enough to actually watch that game, but I was tracking the score and was very happy with how that went. That went as expected. And then my other one, my loss, I had Georgia State plus 21 against Georgia Tech. They had a first and goal opportunity that they failed to get any points. And even if they just kick a field goal on that drive, we cover that number and go 3-0 on my bet. So it happens. That's betting. You're going to have those situations. So we'll make it back out this week.
But in the mix. So we will get to the big money bets at the end. Let's start off with my best bets of the week. I'm usually going to come in with 2 for you. Tishu will give you whatever he feels really good about. So my first best bet of the week, and I'm always curious what Tishu thinks. I have Oregon in a bounce back situation versus Boise State. Boise gave up a bunch of points last week to Georgia Southern, but also scored a bunch of points. I think Dan Lanning and Oregon are going to be mad. This number's minus 20 a lot of places. I found it at 19.5 on FanDuel at minus 115. I feel like if week 1 had gone normally, had gone as people expected, I feel like this line would definitely be over 3 touchdowns. Would be maybe creeping more towards like 23 or 24. So I almost think like Oregon, again, this doesn't have to be a dominating performance to win by 3 touchdowns. It can be kind of a game and then you put it away late. What do you think of Oregon minus 19.5 versus Boise State?
Yeah, I like this pick. Even after their performance last week against Idaho, I still make this line 20.5. So, you're still getting a good number here, getting under that key number. And I think situationally, I think you've got it nailed. I think this is the perfect time to buy Oregon after that. And everyone's like, oh, they're out. They're seventh in the AP poll now. Like, I think is a really good situational spot for them to bounce back. And I mean, on the other hand, it's like, did people not see Boise struggle with Georgia Southern and give up a million points in that game? Like, if you're going to give up that many to Georgia Southern, I'm curious to see what Oregon's going to do, even despite only scoring 24 on Idaho last week.
Yeah. Okay. My other best bet is the Cincinnati Pitt game that I will be attending in Nippert Stadium for Kings of the North on Saturday. Bill Landis and I, we go through the picks for every Northern game on our Thursday live show at noon on Kings of the North. And as I'm developing what I think is going to happen in those games, if I really think there are things that I have strong feelings and my pick for those games, we don't think of it from a gambling standpoint, but I pick a score for every game. If something really hits for me that's like, man, I'm really picking something where the line really, I must think this is a strong bet. I have Cincinnati winning this, I think, by 8. I think my score was 31-23. Cincinnati and Pitt played really well offensively last week. I think Cincinnati can sustain it a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised a little bit of a hiccup for the Pitt offense with year one offensive coordinator Cade Bell, with new starting quarterback Eli Holstein. Meanwhile, Brendan Sorsby was the starter last year at Indiana. He's done this before, played really well last week when they beat Towson. I think his legs can hurt Pitt a little bit, and I think Cincinnati's offensive line is really good. So it's basically a coin flip game. I'm taking Cincinnati -2 at home versus Pitt, and I found that for -110 on FanDuel. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I don't have a strong feel for this game whatsoever. I mean, my projection is right on the number. I've got Cincinnati -2. Even I did like a weird exercise where I just took the data from week 0 and week 1, made a projection just based on that data, and even that is Cincinnati -1. So it's like, This game is really a toss up. I really don't have a strong feel either way. Even on the total, I don't really have a strong feel either way, because there's just kind of conflicting preseason data versus what we saw on the field last week.
Yeah. Okay. So those are my 2 bets. And the good thing about it is Tishu didn't tell me that I'm crazy and that I'm throwing people's money away. So that's all I'm looking for here. Because I did send him a slate of a couple other possibilities, and he scared me off of some of the other ones, but I'm okay with where I landed on these 2. Tishu, you have a few more best bets this week, right?
Yeah. Yep. Gonna give you a nice healthy helping here of some best bets.
Okay. Let's do it then.
First one, Iowa State. Hold
on a second. I don't want to do that one yet because I don't know what to do with us and Iowa State Tishu. I don't want Kirk Ferentz to drive us apart. The last thing we can let happen on this show is for Kirk Ferentz to drive a wedge between us. Can you vow that to me? Will you say that, Tishu? I will never let Kirk Ferentz drive a wedge between us.
I can vow that. Now, I do think if Kirk Ferentz is driving you anywhere, it's going to be like off a cliff. So
I know. He's already
Doug and Kirk have a history.
He's like, oh man, I wouldn't want to be that guy. I hope I ruin friendships that guy has. I hope that guy has no friends in the world ever again. That's what Kirk Ferentz would wish for me. So I'm saving that. It's too dramatic. Iowa State. That's where all the drama is. So we're starting with Old Dominion, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not 1,000% sure what state Old Dominion's in.
It's in Virginia.
Okay. That's what I guessed. If you had said Tennessee, I wouldn't have disagreed. So, and I don't know where New Dominion or North Dominion or South Dominion or West Dominion or Dominion Heights. I don't know where any of the Dominions are. Old Dominion, you're taking them +2.5 against East Carolina. I found that for -102 on FanDuel. Why do you like this?
Yeah, I mean, this game opened with Old Dominion as a 3-point favorite, and then the line has now swung 5.5 points. And just generally, I think we touched on this a little bit maybe last week. When a spread moves 3 or more points off an opener, like I couldn't bet it. Even if my number agreed with that line move, with that steam, I still wouldn't bet it just like out of principle. But conversely, if the line moves 5 points, creating value on what I already showed value on, which was I project Old Dominion -4. So my number would have liked Old Dominion at the opening number, barely, but it would have liked Old Dominion. Well, now you've given me 5.5 points of value here. So I really like them. Again, using the on-field data only, I would make it 15.5 for what that's worth. Don't like bet your mortgage on that. But these teams are similar on offense. The Old Dominion defense is better. I've got them rated 68th compared to 86 for ECU. Old Dominion only gave up 23 points to South Carolina last week, and one of those scores was after a muffed punt. It created a short field for South Carolina. So they held South Carolina to 3.5 yards per play. So I think this Old Dominion defense is actually pretty stout, and the ECU offense is pretty terrible. So I think Old Dominion is going to win the game outright.
Oh, I like it. I see you have a lot. I like when you have more than one thing. It's like, well, I like it for this reason, and I also like it for this reason, and I also like it for this reason. Because you have some things here. You're talking about some on-field stuff that happened with what your numbers were saying and line movement. This is 3 for 3 on why T. Shoe loves the Dominionators. I don't know.
The Monarchs.
What the Monarchs? Like a monarch butterfly? Oh, wait. Hold on a second. I didn't realize that their logo is a lion wearing a crown. Hold on. Oh, now I feel bad for being dismissive.
It was meant to be.
We should be betting on any king, queen, or monarch themed team out of it. Because I tried to make an orange parlay this week. We'll get into that when we get to the plus money thing. And I wore an orange shirt today. And I was like, Tishu, all I'm saying is it's 3 teams that wear orange. And he said, Doug, we're betting real money. Stop being a maniac. So, that's how we do it here. Go Fighting Monarchs. But it's a lion. It's a lion wearing a crown.
Yeah,
that's fine.
It's very, very confusing.
It is very confusing. Okay. Old Dominion plus 2.5. I like this one. This might get the old Dougie special, which means a $2 bet of my own personal money. All right. Let's go to the second game, which is Marshall and Virginia Tech. And I was intrigued by your pick here, Tishu, because Virginia Tech had a terrible game last week where they lost to Vanderbilt and everybody made fun of them. And so then sometimes it's like, well, then which way do you go off a team having a thing like that? I thought maybe it'd be angry Virginia Tech, but you're taking Marshall plus 20.5 here. We found that for -110 on DraftKings.
Yeah, this is another one where looking at what they did on the field last week matches up with the number that's taking in, because I was pretty high on Virginia Tech coming into the season. So even accounting for that, my number still likes Marshall. Again, This is another huge move. Opened Virginia Tech -14 at circa, now up to 20.5. So we're getting a full touchdown of value here. My number on the game is Virginia Tech -11. So again, I would have liked Marshall plus the 14, but now you're going to give me 3 touchdowns. I almost have to bet it out of principle, if anything else. The 2024 data, Marshall was 16 points better in their game last week against Stony Brook. They covered a 30.5 point number, while Virginia Tech went to overtime as 2 touchdown favorites against Vanderbilt, who's terrible. I think this is a big letdown spot, actually. We talked about a bounce back spot with Oregon earlier, but I think because of the way Virginia Tech had to win, it's like they had to hold on for dear life just to win. Now you exhale, and now you've got to play a Marshall. I mean, you think a couple years ago they beat Notre Dame off, in a similar situation off a big emotional game the week before. Marshall gets up for these big games. They really take it seriously. Their fans are going to travel. They take it seriously. Marshall beat them last year and covered as 6.5 point favorites. Marshall beat Virginia Tech and covered just last year. And I went back and looked. Virginia Tech in their last 3 years against non-power schools, their average margin of victory is only 9 points per game.
Oh,
so they tend to play down to their competition. Marshall in these spots has generally been pretty good. And again, what we've seen so far this year, I like Marshall getting 3 touchdowns.
Wow. Okay. I like this too. This is 3 more things, and I'll take my crown off because now we have to be serious big boy football talk because we have to talk about Iowa State. Landis and I talked about this on the Thursday show. We both liked the over on Iowa State. But once upon a time, Tyler, I can't remember when it was, Bill Landis picked the team, and you came on here and picked for $500 the opposite side. And Bill Landis sent us a message the next day and sent us a Michael Scott meme of him dodging strays on this show. And we love Bill Landis. But now I'm with Landis on thinking that over 35.5 for a potentially explosive Iowa State offense and an Iowa offense that all of a sudden got competent in the second half last week doesn't feel like a big ask. But we know what Iowa games traditionally have been. You are under Iowa State 35.5. We found it for -106 on FanDuel. Why are you under this?
I'm so excited to be on this under at a total this low because like I mentioned before, in years past, my formula literally just like wouldn't allow it. But the tweaks I made in the off season now have given me a broader range of projections on totals. So I am ecstatic to be on an under 35.5 here. So it opened 36.5. Money came on the under, got it down to 35, but then there was buyback at 35, which is a key number, which is, why it's at 35.5 now. I project 25.5, which is crazy. Looking at what these teams did last week, I would make it, only looking at that data, I would make it 23.5.
Oh,
I went back and looked the last 5 years of this matchup, or the last 5 matchups, the average total has been 29 is what the results of the game have been, not the betting line. The actual total of the game averaged up 29 over the last 5 years. By my rankings, the average offense in this game is 96th, and the average defense is 6th, including Iowa, who has the number 1 defense in my numbers right now.
Okay. What about Rocco Beck, though? I think Rocco Beck's so good.
Did he play last week when they scored 24 points on North Dakota?
He did. North Dakota had a 20-play, 12.5-minute drive. They weren't on the field at all. This is, it's hard. Iowa's defense is so good. And Iowa can turn any game into an under is the thing that you put that defense on the field. And even though their offense woke up in the second half, they popped a couple big runs late that I think, they ended up scoring 40, but a couple of those were like defense is trying to be aggressive and get back in the game, and they pop a couple big runs. So, okay. I mean, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to come on? I could come on here and say, math, Rocco Beck, but I'm an idiot. So like, what is like, well, Rocco Beck's pretty good. Rocco Beck is good, but you have equations. So, the only thing I would say is I do think the score in the Iowa State game last week, they scored 21, I think, right? Is a little bit thrown off by just how much North Dakota held the ball. And it's not quite indicative of how good that offense actually is, but everything is indicative of how good the Iowa defense actually is. And Iowa State plays pretty good defense too. They have some injured linebackers, but you're under 35.5 and you're the smart guy on the show. So we're not always going to agree, but when we do disagree, everyone out there in betting land, go with him. Go
I think the historics on that are pretty good in my favor.
You're actually like, you get off this thing and your wife's like, how'd the show go? And you're like, Doug disagreed with me. I'm betting triple on that. So I know. We know how that goes. And then Mike, if I'm right on this one, then we'll just save that clip. But we might be waiting a long time for that to actually happen. All right, last bet for you on the T-Shoe best bets, and it's going to lead us somewhere else. You and I once upon a time did a show that was more Ohio State themed, and we wound up making a lot of Ohio State suggested bets on that show. And so there's another suggested bet here about Ohio State. It's Ohio State, Western Michigan over the total of 54. Found that a lot of different places, including on DraftKings for -110. Why do you like this over 54?
Yeah, I'll be honest, when I ran my initial week 2 projections and saw this number, I literally went and made sure that all of my formulas were set up correctly, like that there wasn't an issue. I project 72 for this total. And when I started to look at it, the Western Michigan defense is number 11. No, I'm sorry, number 111 in my rankings. I mean, they've been awful. They gave up 41 points to Iowa last year. They played a weird game with Wisconsin last week that was just more of a rock fight, but I think that has more to do with Wisconsin than it does with Western Michigan, in my opinion. And then kind of also playing into this is Ohio State kind of was a little clunky out of the gate against Akron last week. They got a couple of defensive scores late that kind of puffed up the number a little bit. But I think this is a case where we're going to see regression on both sides, where Ohio State's offense is actually going to look like Ohio State's offense, and Western Michigan's defense is actually going to look like Western Michigan's defense, which is awful. And I think Ohio State's going to go crazy in this game. I don't want to touch the spread. That's a huge number, but this total, I mean, leading where we're going to go in a minute, but I think Ohio State can get this themselves, even if Western Michigan doesn't contribute much.
When Landis and I did our picks on the Thursday show, he picked 70 for Ohio State. So yeah. I think I picked 52-3 or something, right? Which would be slightly over. So this is
one more nugget. Sorry, one more nugget before we get to the next one. The last 3 years, I went back and looked. The last 3 years, Ohio State against non-power opponents, the average score has been 65 points, and
wow,
Ohio State themselves has averaged 53.5 of those. So
okay.
Just keep that in your pocket.
Okay. So this is related to what will be our $500 real money bet this week. And when we were talking this out, you were getting your picks together. I was getting my picks together for what I might suggest as best bets. And we coalesced around this. And our $500 real money best bet is going to be the Ohio State team total. Over 47.5. So you're asking Ohio State to score 7 touchdowns. And we're actually getting a plus number on this on DraftKings. When we talked about it, it was plus 100, which is even money. Now it moved to plus 105. If we make this bet at plus 105, for a $500 bet, we'll get $1,025 back. The team total, and for people, this is, when you see an over-under total, that's for the combined score of the game. But when you go inside, you click on a game on your app, and then there's all kinds of extra little bets you can make within there. They have team totals. What will each team score individually? And for this game, right, they do that. There's almost every total possibility. So we landed on over 47.5 at plus 105. We also talked about over 48.5 at plus 135. We would win an extra $150 on our $500 bet. But we were talking about the idea of if Ohio State scores 7 touchdowns and misses 1 extra point, we win on 47.5. We lose on 48.5. And once you start talking about something, and then it's like, man, we could win an extra $150 for a point. This is throwing your computer out the window territory. So we are going to take it at over 47.5 at plus 105. Talk, Tishu, about the idea of betting an individual team total versus betting a game total. We chose to do the team total here because the thing that I'm a little worried about is Ohio State scoring 52, but now it's 52-0 and it's a shutout and Western Michigan doesn't do anything. And now you're under the over-under, but you'd win it on the team total here. Is there a way to try to figure out which way you should go with bets like this? We're going both ways.
Yeah, we're going to hit it from both angles here, but I think when you're trying to decide whether to go the game over or the team total over, I think really just comes down to how much do you trust both teams to contribute. Like, for instance, I bet a Texas Tech, Washington State over this week. I expect both teams to healthily contribute to that total. So I didn't want to play a team total because I think both teams are just going to light it up. But in this case, to your point, we both agree that Ohio State, is going to go crazy in this game. The question is Western Michigan going to be able to do anything on the Ohio State defense? I don't really think so. And Ohio State's defense, lately has shown the propensity, especially in these games against non-power teams, to get some touchdowns. They've been talking about, maybe a Brandon Ennis punt return touchdown. They're really going for that. I think Ryan Day wants him to get that. So I won't be surprised if we see a non-offensive touchdown here for the Buckeyes this week as well.
The other thing here, I checked, it doesn't seem to be a huge weather issue or anything coming on Saturday. My weather app is saying sunny, high of 67. So if we worried about weather, maybe that would back us off of something like this. Yep. So I like this. I like the idea of an Ohio State bounce back, and let's add a little juice to the proceedings here. I'm making the bet right now. It's still, I have a not
why you do that? I do want to point out this is also, a night game, the first night game of the season. So
Yep.
I think, the fans are going to be as jacked as you can get for Western Michigan. But the thing with betting a team like Ohio State to go over a team total, I think this is really important, is that their backups are very capable of scoring points. They're not just going to get in and not do anything. We saw last year, I forget the game, but we saw walk-on running back TC Caffey go for a 55-yard, rushing touchdown. The Ohio State backups, when they come into the game, they're going to be looking to score. They're capable of scoring.
And I think it's possible Ryan Day won't put the backups in until they have 6 touchdowns anyway. Right. Yeah. I think he wants Will Howard to get comfortable. He has reason to do that. I think he wants to get Trevion Henderson in the end zone. I think they're still working Quinshon Judkins in, as he's only played one game in an Ohio State uniform. I do think we'll see Julian Sayin in this game. Devin Brown played last week, but for the freshman quarterback to come in, but he'll have guys to throw to. So we're going to place this bet, $500, total payout of $1,025. Oh, wait. Oh, what happened? What did I do? Bet under review. Your bet amount requires confirmation by a member of our trading team.
They've already limited us. Early.
What does that mean? They're on to us because we're too good? Are we too good?
We cashed one big bet. Okay, we're not that good.
It's my dream to get kicked out of a casino for being too good. But casinos are like, come on in, dummy. They're at the door. Hey, please clear the path for this guy in the lemon shirt.
We do need to go to Vegas together because you'll get comped everywhere. Derek Stevens at the Circle will set us up for a month if I walk in there with you. So let's do it.
Hey, the guy wearing the crown. Give him some free drinks. Woo! All right. All I know is we won a $500 bet last week. So did other betting shows win a $500 real money bet? Did ya? All right. Let's get to the plus money bet of the week. And this is a parlay that we agreed pretty quickly on putting Texas on the money line and Tennessee on the money line in this. And then I said, let's make it Syracuse because they're all orange. And you said, I'm leaving the show if we do that. So we pulled Syracuse out. I was going to say Syracuse with the points. It wasn't the Syracuse money line bet. They're getting like 2.5 at home. But then we were dancing around trying to find a third or fourth team to put in here on a money line parlay. So we wound up with a 4-team money line parlay. Texas, Tennessee, Nebraska, and Kansas State. The Texas and K-State games are at noon, so you can watch those first. And then the Tennessee and Nebraska games are at 7:30 at night, so you can watch those later. To do this parlay, Texas is minus 285. K-State's minus 355 versus Tulane. Texas is playing Michigan, of course. Tennessee is minus 340 versus NC State. Nebraska is minus 258 versus Colorado. Nebraska's favored by 7.5. Tennessee's favored by 10. Again, Tishu gave you that line 2 weeks ago when it was 4.5, and now it's 10. I hope you bet that then, World. You bet it then, right, Tishu? You got Tennessee minus 4.5?
It's climbing too. It's not going to stop, I don't think, at 10.
Kansas State on the road at Tulane is favored by 9, and Texas on the road at Michigan is favored by 7.5. I will say we got 3 road teams here on these money lines, but that actually probably only helps the odds a little bit. So the overall bet on this, we're betting $100 on this at plus 210 to win $310.91. So plus 210. The idea to Tishu of money line parlays, you're taking favorites. All they have to do is win. That's what a money line bet is. But now we have to win 4 times. 4 teams, 4 pretty blue blood teams have to win straight up when all 4 are favored by more than a touchdown. Is this a smart way to do business? Or anytime you're betting 4 favorites, is there a pretty good chance that there's going to be one upset in that group and now we lose?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's necessarily there's going to be, a guaranteed upset in a 4-team money line parlay like this. I think the thing you have to stomach for someone like me who's so math driven, the thing you have to stomach is I calculated what my projected odds would be on this. My projected odds would be like plus 280. So when you're taking these big favorites, like the books kind of shade the money lines accordingly because they know that people are going to do this sort of thing. So
Okay.
you have to be willing to accept a little more risk in terms of implied probability on the money line. So that's not to say it won't cash, but as a long-term betting strategy, like I wouldn't recommend not, I'm not saying, don't straight bet anymore. Just do 4-line favorite, money line parlays. That's not going to win you money as your primary betting strategy. But if you mix one in there with some of your straight bets, I don't think there's a big problem with that.
So we want to get plus odds on all these things. So we're either going to do parlays or we're going to bet underdogs to win. The one I was thinking about this week, and I picked Michigan State to beat Maryland. Michigan State on the road, they're like an 8.5 point underdog. I sent that one to you, and you said, Mr. Lemon, not so much. You did not like the idea of Michigan State beating Maryland.
No, I did not. Michigan State looked really bad. I was listening to KOTN earlier, and I thought you made a good point about they had some big plays down the field that maybe they just didn't quite connect on. I think that's valid, but my number on the game is north of 10. I've got it like Maryland minus 11.5. So when you're getting through a key number there, I wouldn't. I didn't want to bet a money line on a team that I have projected to lose by 12. So
okay, that's fair. I made a point and then math made a point, and that's how we do it on this show. So those are our two actual money bets. That 4-team parlay, we're getting plus 210 on that. We bet $100 on that. And our $500 bet is Ohio State team total over 47.5. It would be awesome to win, that's plus odds too. If we won that in the first half. How about that? Would you take that? Like a 48-0 Ohio State halftime lead, and then everyone just take a nap in the second half. So
they did it to Michigan State a couple of years ago. I don't see why they couldn't do it to Western Michigan.
we would take that. So we will continue to track all of our bets here. We're going to we're going to have a good time, and we're going to do our very best. And like the thing of it here is this is a good example of it. Tishu is not going to let me be too dumb. He will pull back my stupidest instincts. And I can't change who I am. I mean, anybody who's watched or listened for any period of time, this is it. There's not another side to this. This is me. But he's with me. So he is my I don't know, guardian. We're
your buffer.
We're coming. It's sort of like you go out sometimes and you see a little kid running around and the parent has a leash on the kid, and it's the kid can maybe run and maybe bump into somebody, but the kid's not going to run in the street. So when I'm on the show with Tishu, I'm not running in the street, which is why our all orange 3-team parlay got nixed. But hopefully we'll make some money here. You felt how good do you feel about the $500 Ohio State team total bet compared to the Notre Dame bet a week ago?
Definitely more confident. I mean, okay. Notre Dame going on the road to Kyle Field, A&M had a new coach. There were some things there that there was more uncertainty there. I feel like Ohio State may just really put the throttle down on Western Michigan this week. So I feel good about it.
And it is when you get a little bit of an alert when your numbers are 20 points different. I mean, you made your best bet, but we're talking two and a half, 3 touchdowns difference that you think Ohio State's going to. So you're way over on this stuff. Okay. That's it for Bets of the North. We'll catch you here every Friday morning. Kings of the North live at noon, Monday through Thursday. We'll catch you on the Saturday night post-game show at 11 p.m. So many Northern bangers this week. Kansas, Illinois, Cincinnati, Pitt, Michigan State, Maryland, Texas, Michigan, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, and then Colorado, Nebraska, and Iowa State. We're going to have a lot to talk about on Saturday night. And Tishu's going to be raking in the money. And Tishu, and when people want to find you, you also you have the little Tishu super duper newsletter. What do you call it?
Yeah. You can get all of my college football guides. I've got NFL, WNBA as well at tishuindex.com. For basically the best way to get in touch with me and to stay on top of what I'm doing is just follow me on X at tishuindex. And you can also read me at vsin.com with daily best bets and projections. All right.
He's our guy. We're going to have some fun and hopefully make some money again for charity. For now, thanks to our producer, Mike Urostowski, for making us look good and sound good. And Mike knows a thing or two about betting too. So I think he might be making a couple of these wagers as well. We'll see you guys next week for Bets of the North. Every Friday morning, it drops around 5 a.m. in your feed, so you can wake up. You're still in bed, And then you bring up your phone. This is a good way to get divorced. Wake up while you're still in bed. Before you brush your teeth, you start making the T-shoe bets. No, it's just for fun. It's just for fun. But every Friday morning, we'll see you. He's Tyler Shoemaker. I'm Doug Lesmerises. And that was Bets of the North on Kings of the North.